What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today I want to give you guys tips on how to make a successful, thriving fish tank. It's not beautiful, but you'll notice that some of these fishes that I have are over 10 years old. For example, this one right here. If you guys have been a long-time subscriber of my channel, you'll notice that this catfish was in my one of the earlier videos of my channel about 13 years ago, 14 years ago. So this catfish is currently blind, but it's when I first got it, it was 13 years ago, so I'm gonna guess it's about 14 years old. And then one of the other oldest fish in my aquarium is this guy right here, and this female jaguar cichlid is a South American cichlid, or should I say Central American. But anyway, this jaguar cichlid is about 13 years old. I got this guy from Pomona, California, for about $6 when he was about this size. Now, well, it's actually a female. So this girl now is 13 years old. You can kind of see the age of the fish by seeing the bent curves of the overall fish itself, and it's not very active anymore. Again, if you focus on the eyes, you'll notice that it's blind as well. So this fish is blind, this fish is blind. These two are not blind, as you can see and compare the difference in the eyes. But these guys are only about 10 years old. That guy's about 10 years old. These plecos are only about 4 years old. I got them when I first moved into this house, anyway, I got 3 of them, and I don't feed them anything. One of the tricks in helping them sustain to have enough food is I keep this LED light on 24/7. Okay, so when the light is on 24/7, you'll notice that it causes, or it produces these algae on the glass of the tank, right? You can kind of see it over there. So that's one thing. One of the tips is if you plan on having plecos and you like a little bit of the natural look of having you know, a little bit of algae, you leave the light on 24/7. And I've been leaving the light on my aquariums for 24/7 for the last I'd say about 13 years. 10 years at the old house and 3 years at the new house, and the fishes are fine. It doesn't affect the health of the fishes, as you can see, the health of my fishes. In some of my older videos, you'll notice that I had a Australian arowana as well. That one did not die. Actually, when we moved to the new house, which is the current one I'm living in, I sold that Australian arowana for, I believe it was like, I sold it very cheap. I sold it for $150, and it grew to be like the size of my arm, the length of my arm. And it was very aggressive too. I didn't think arowanas were aggressive, but that Australian arowana was very aggressive. And you'll notice in some of my older videos, I had a lot of the convex cichlids, and a lot of them were you know, they were eaten by the Australian arowana. Unfortunately, I didn't want to have so many tanks up and running. I didn't want to do a lot of water changes from so many different fish tanks. I had one. I think one time I had I think 5 fish tanks up and running at one point. 55 gallon, this 100 gallon, and the 125 gallon, the one with the sump tank. This one does not have a sump tank. It's just 100 gallons with the 2 hang-on backs. So the hang-on backs filters, they of course, you know, they use the sponge and actually this for these 2 filters I only use the sponge. I don't use the coal, the carbon. I just use sponge, and rarely do I clean the sponge, because a lot of the good bacteria resides in that sponge, which makes the water safe for the fish. So that's tip number 2, is having the good bacteria, having the filters with the good bacteria in it. Although it is recommended that, you know, you do need to wash it. Like right now I need to wash it. I need to rinse off that sponge, because you'll notice that this thing is popped up. So that just means this sponge needs a good rinse and a good cleaning. But if you do clean it, I would recommend cleaning and rinsing off the sponge with the same aquarium water when you do the water change. So that's tip number 2. So tip number 1, lights. Tip number 2, filter. Tip number 3, the quality of food. So you'll notice that this food is $36, $35.99 price tag, right? If you guys have dogs like we did, like we used to, a bag of dog food at Costco's costs about 30 bucks. This little tub of fish food costs 36 bucks. Now the ingredients, some of the ingredients in the fish food has medication. So that's what keeps the fishes healthy and you know, immune to diseases. So you'll notice that none of my fishes have diseases. And not only is the food important, but the most important thing is the water change. So I'm gonna make a separate video on how to make the water change, but what I use is the Python. It's a very long, pretty much plastic hose that connects. Well, one end of course goes in here. It has a cylinder. Let me see if I can show you guys that. Bring that over here. So this is the Python, okay, and one of the ends is this cylinder I was talking about. This thing goes into the fish tank, and the other end goes into my garden hoe, and it's a T-connector. This can be closed off or can be opened right here, this valve right here. So closing it with the garden hose connected into here, and when you turn on the garden hose, water will be going into the tank. And if you want to suck water out of the tank, You just have the garden hose connected. You open up the valve, you turn on the garden hose, and the pressure that pushes through here, will also suck the water from the tank from this side out into here as well. And I'll make a separate video on how to make a water change. Yeah, I don't do the buckets, you know, emptying the buckets by buckets and buckets. That was way back in the early 80s when I first started this hobby. So nowadays, well, I've been actually doing this for the last 13 years, is using the Python to do the water changes. So so that is the fourth and most important thing, is frequent water changes. So how frequent? I used to do about half tank every week. Then I got lazy and I wanted to test to see what is the cutoff to do the water changes, so that my fishes can still stay healthy. And lately it's been about 3 weeks. I do once every 3 weeks I do the water change. So that is another trick to keeping your fishes healthy. And you may be wondering, like, okay, well, you know, how do we know that these fishes are that old? You know, I could have just lied on this video and went out and bought another fish, right? And put it in here and say, oh, that's like 13 years old and that's, you know, 13 years old. Well, when you go out and buy a fish, you're not gonna go out and buy a blind fish. Look at the eyes on this guy. Okay, you're not gonna go out and buy a blind fish. Okay, and I don't think pet stores sells blind fishes. But interestingly, these fishes, even though they're blind, they know exactly when it's feeding time. And if you notice earlier, I have this automatic feeder, but at the same time, I do feed the fishes as well. So I haven't fed it today, so I'm gonna do a little feeding just to show you guys. But you'll see that these fishes, they are very smart. Even though they're blind, they will come up and eat. Now, I don't know if it's the whiskers that they have that allows them to smell the food, or the sound movement of other fishes going up and eat. But you'll start to see, yeah, that blue guy is an African cichlid. He's about 10 years old. That guy was, okay, check this out. This guy's blind, but he knows exactly how to get food. And this is what I mean by survival of the fittest, right? So if this guy didn't have that built-in capability to be able to get food when he's hungry, he's not going to make it this long. You'll also notice that my plecos are eating the pellets as well. Also, it's a built-in mechanism in these fishes that if they're hungry, they need to get out of their comfort zone and eat. As you guys know already, plecos, they eat. They're bottom eaters. They eat at the bottom, and they also eat the algae on the glasses. But my plecos, they actually eat the pellets. And why? Well, you know, I mean, why do we travel, go out of our comfort zone to eat things we want to eat, right? We don't want to eat the same thing every day. So that is the fourth thing, is constant water changes, frequent water changes. That's what keeps these fishes healthy. You'll notice that the third parrotfish that I have here, unfortunately, these parrotfishes are 10 years old, but I didn't have footage of them when I first got them. When I first got them, they were the size of about two of my fingers, and I got them for like $7 when they were little. Unfortunately, I did not have footage and proof of them many years ago when I got them. The reason why this one has parasites or a little bit of fungus on its head is because I used to feed my fishes the shrimp, the market shrimp that I come home from fishing, that I have left over, and I would just put it in there and eat it. I don't recommend that. I don't do that anymore. But you'll notice that it's not contagious. Like that one will have it, that one doesn't have it, the other one doesn't have it, none of the other fishes have it. And so don't feed your your pet fishes or your cichlids live food. I know there's a lot of videos on YouTube. They feed like these feeder goldfish. I used to do that, but what happens is I used to have Oscars, and those Oscars did not die, by the way. I actually sold them to the pet stores for credit, but I used to feed them feeder goldfish, and they would get these hole in the head. They have these parasites, and these parasites would eat into their head and into their bodies. So I don't do that anymore, and it's been over 14 years since the last time I did that. Same thing with my Australian arowana. I used to feed it, like feeder goldfish. I stopped doing that 14 years ago. And what I ended up doing with that Australian arowana was I starved it for about 2 weeks. I didn't actually starve it, but I kept that Australian arowana in with all the other fishes, but I only fed all the fishes the same food, which is the pellets. And after about 2 weeks of the Australian arowana not being able to eat, because it was so used to eating live food and feeder goldfish, after being hungry for 2 weeks of not eating anything, it started to eat this food. Unfortunately, I don't know if I've made any videos back then on my Australian arowana eating pellets, but yeah, don't worry. If you feed your fishes and they don't eat, living species are designed to eat when they're hungry, and when they don't eat anything for many days, they're gonna start eating whatever that's edible. So so some of the tips for you guys. I wanted to make an update. I know that almost half of my subscribers to my channel, I know I don't have a lot of subscribers, but I know that almost half of you guys subscribe to my channel because I started out the channel as a fish keeper, an aquarium hobbyist. It is still my hobby. I've been doing this for I don't know, 40 years now, since early 80s, mid 80s to now, and I've always had an aquarium ever since the mid 80s. So so I do know a little bit about tips, and I do have a little bit of experience on how to keep fishes healthy and alive. As you can see, that some of my fishes are very old. Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer all your questions. I think the pet stores don't like it when we're able to keep fishes living this long, because they don't make a lot of money. But I think it's very interesting that you get to see the whole entire life cycle of these fishes if you're able to keep them alive for over 10 years. You get to see them age, you get to see them, you know, their habits, their personalities. So yeah, right now I have the garage door opened, so it's bright. It's brighter than usual, and they're kind of scared and they're not eating. But that doesn't stop some of the plecos helping themselves with the pellets. When I feed, I don't drop in a lot of pellets. I drop in maybe about 15-20 pellets. So you know, so that way food is just not floating around and causing the tank to be cloudy and dirty up. But yeah, in the next few videos I'm gonna make videos on how to do water changes with this Python. If you guys haven't already seen from many other YouTubers, is that this will help very much in replacing, you know, carrying buckets and buckets of water to dump the old water and pouring in new water. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I did mention to some of my older subscribers that I was going to make an update to this, and I think the last time I made a video on my aquarium was probably at least 10 years ago or so. So I think I do owe some of my subscribers an apology for slacking. You know, I'm still in the hobby, I just haven't been making videos. But hopefully now that I'm more active in YouTube, I'm going to start making more regular videos for you guys of my other hobby. As you know, my first hobby is fishing, but my second one is fish keeping, which has been around for 40 years. So so yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys find this helpful, please like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.